Google Ads agency versus in-house versus freelancer, which one is best for you? If you're trying to figure out who is best to run your Google Ads, you're probably feeling a little bit overwhelmed because there's so many options. Should you hire a cheap freelancer off Fiverr? Should you work with a full service marketing agency? Or should you look at a specialist Google Ads provider? So in this video, I'm gonna walk through the 4 main options I think you have when deciding who is gonna run your Google Ads campaigns and break them all down in a little bit more detail. Let's dive in. The first option is Fiverr Freelancers. They'll almost certainly be the cheapest option out there, but to an extent you'll get what you pay for. This is the process where you can look on either Fiverr or Upwork and look to partner with a trusted, well-reviewed Google Ads expert provider that you can find from anywhere around the world. Often, from experience, I found that these freelancers are very transactional. They can work well on a kind of project basis, on a kind of setup or ticking over and managing on smaller Google Ads accounts. They're often very good at keeping the basics going, following the kind of standard recommendations and keeping things ticking along. They are also often incredibly cheap. The one drawback of this option is generally because of the number of clients that they have to work with to remain profitable if they're charging £200 or £300 a month, they often don't have the ability for that hands-on management of a client. So they are rarely able to spend the time really getting to know a client, whether that be on part of the onboarding or ongoing as part of monthly calls, monthly reviews. That challenge in the ability to truly get under the skin of a business and match business nuance and market conditions with what works best with Google absolutely can be a drawback for scaling bigger and stronger and growing Google Ads accounts, but isn't much of a challenge for perhaps more basic businesses, more local businesses, or a service type that is perhaps relatively more common, so you're a local trade of some capacity. That absolutely can work for this Fiverr related model. And again, because of that lack of time, you're going to receive the kind of more basic level of Google Ads services. You're probably unlikely going to be testing whole new campaigns, strategies, setting business up for growth. I don't really think this route is the best for a business that's starting on £500 a month and wants to go to the absolute moon and scale their campaign. But if in a scenario that's perfect for you, that you spend £1,000 a month on Google Ads, if all things are going well, you'll be in the same place in a year's time, maybe 2 years time or 3 years time, then yeah, this is absolutely fine. I think a lot of these freelancers absolutely know what they're doing. The benefit of Fiverr is they'll all be incredibly well reviewed. You'll have all of the customer feedback on there as to how good they are at their job. And usually, obviously, they're incentivized to do a good job because they want more reviews and they'll be responsive accordingly. But absolutely, I would choose this option over trying to work out how to run Google Ads yourself. If there's someone on Fiverr that can set up basic accounts, they've shown how they can do it for your exact trade, and it's going to cost you £200-300 a month. I honestly think that's quite a good option compared to trying to think that you can run a whole new Google Ads campaign yourself, especially if you're busy trying to run your own business. And I think to summarize, the Fiverr freelancers absolutely can get your campaigns up and running. They can do some of that basic work and keep you ticking along, but probably aren't the best option if you're looking to really grow and scale and become a really big player in the Google Ads world for your specific market. They're probably going to be lacking in that strategic oversight or that kind of full hands-on management of specifically getting to know your business, but that could absolutely be fine for smaller businesses, local trades. I'm not here to criticize anyone specifically on this. Specialist freelancers are Google Ads experts that have kind of evolved potentially from that Fiverr-based model. And this actually is how I kind of started my business. So I can definitely talk about this specific model pretty openly. What you'll get here compared to the Fiverr model is these individuals will most likely specifically focus on Google Ads, but likely they'll be taking on fewer clients because they'll be able to charge slightly more for their services because they're probably more experienced and delivering better results than some of that Fiverr-based model. But they'll have far more time for the management side of things, really getting to speak to the clients, understand the businesses they're working with, and matching business nuance with their growing skills when it comes to Google Ads. I've often found in, I suppose, being one of these and also working with a number of them, that we're able to start to develop some of those more advanced methods when it comes to Google Ads and what works. Whereas previously it might have been those kind of smaller, more cookie cutter type approaches to Google Ads is this is how we set them up and we work through a process. As freelancers move into that more specialist mindset and that specialist part of the industry, they are able to look at individual and bespoke ways to run Google Ads campaigns for each business they work with. That's not possible when you're a Fiverr freelancer potentially running 30, 40, 50 accounts a month. But as you move into that kind of specialist freelancer of maybe 10 or so, you're able to create tailored Google Ads strategies for each client you work with because you're starting to understand their business. So as I said, I actually think freelancers are a great route for many businesses. You get the absolute expertise that you would expect from someone that's growing and devoting themselves to Google Ads, but with someone that's got a bit more time to really get understanding the business and match Google Ads with the business understanding and intelligence that they're generating. However, there are a few drawbacks from this model. And again, I can speak about this specifically because I did this for 5 or 6 years before moving to the kind of next step in our journey. Step one absolutely is capacity. When you are essentially a one-man band and you're doing everything within the Google Ads journey, from winning business to setting up Google Ads accounts, to managing them, to reporting, there can be a lot of work. Some freelancers will be very good at saying, this is exactly how many companies I want to work with. I'm very good at managing my time. I'm not going to grow and grow and grow, and that's absolutely fine. But capacity absolutely will be a limiting factor, either by you as a business not being able to find a space with a freelancer you like, or a freelancer taking on too many clients and potentially losing some of the quality of the work they do because they become over encumbered. One of the drawbacks is systems. Because they're solo, they often don't have the client base to scale delivery through advanced systems. This could include softwares that make the delivery of their services more sophisticated, whether that be reporting systems, tracking systems, invoicing, billing, client logins where they can go and look at all their data in one central dashboard. All of those kind of next level systems are really expensive and just may not be justifiable for a freelancer, which may impact the sophistication of delivery. And in some instances, that could limit the ability to scale results, but absolutely not always. And of course, the common drawback to any freelancer-based model is coverage. If they go on holiday, if they're sick, if they do become over encumbered with clients, you've got one person to speak to, one central point of contact. You may not be able to get hold of them. A common downside with any freelancer-based model. This is a genuinely good option. If you can find a freelancer that you like working with and they're available to get to know your business, then you can absolutely start to get some very good results, more so from a kind of Fiverr-based model, and just be aware that there's those kind of common drawbacks of a specialist freelancer compared to more of that agency model. Option 3 is the full service marketing agency. I think most of you probably know the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. And this definitely, in my opinion, can apply to some full service marketing agencies. These are absolutely agencies that say they kind of do everything. So they do web design, SEO, Google Ads, email, might run some social content. They'll cover that full suite of marketing, but it's challenging to understand what they're actually good at. Of course, it can be very convenient to have one central point of contact for all of your marketing ventures. So yes, working with an agency that not only knows your website and your SEO and your Google Ads absolutely can have some benefits in terms of the ease of management and saving you time because you don't have to explain the same thing to 4 or 5 different people. I actually often think the drawback is in the reality of the actual Google Ads team that they've got running. And again, I can talk about this from my specific use case because when I was working as a freelancer, I white labeled for a number of agencies. And so I can kind of talk to you about some of the drawbacks there in a, I suppose, poacher turned gamekeeper kind of model. So firstly, some agencies won't bring anyone in. So they'll have someone in the team that will be responsible for running all paid. So maybe it's all Facebook, all Google. They might also do some emails. They might do some social, and maybe they are brilliant at all of these different roles, but often they are essentially that kind of Fiverr level of freelancer, if I'm honest. Quite often they don't have that next level amount of skills. They're really not kind of developing into that next level of Google Ads freelancer. And so what essentially you're paying for is you're paying often quite kind of high rates often for that Fiverr level of service and not really getting anything better in terms of a Google Ads performance. Obviously you do get the benefits of having one single point of contact that can absolutely make your life a lot easier. Now, and I think it's really fair to say that absolutely some full service agencies will have an in-house special Google Ads expert. They essentially could be a freelancer that wanted a full-time role, and that absolutely in that instance would make them a great option. But where I'd be really cautious for businesses is if you think you're getting a high level of Google Ads service because you're working with an agency, but essentially what you've got is a Fiverr freelancer white labeling in. You might have a situation where you've got a specialist freelancer, and I'll say, I did this, specialist freelancer white labeling into the agency, which can be quite a good model. I suppose quite often I know what I was charging for my hours for this. There will be a markup on that from the agency, so you could be overpaying to an extent. And also the kind of key balance I often find is how is the relationship between that Google Ads person and the person working in the business. Sometimes I worked entirely with the customer. The agency wasn't really involved at all. I used the agency's email address and I dealt with the customer all of the time. I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed it. It makes my job far easier. I can't run Google Ads accounts if I'm not speaking to the client. I'm a really nice guy. I hope I was really trustworthy and great with the client from that side, but also the agency had no idea what I was doing. If the agency just thinks, oh yeah, we'll win some Google Ads work by getting a freelancer in and sending them off to some of our clients, they might have no real scope or control or even vetting, to be honest. I mean, I had situations where I was basically offered a client account within 20 minutes of meeting someone at a networking event. So it really does depend how much control the agency takes over the freelancer running the work. And on the flip side, I would be incredibly cautious of a situation where you as a business don't speak to the person running your Google Ads campaigns. If you're giving Google Ads feedback to an account manager and the account manager is passing that on to someone in Google Ads, and then the Google Ads person is passing it on to the manager and back to you, it's going to be essentially a series of Chinese whispers. And I don't think you're going to get the best out of your Google Ads campaign, and it's not going to offset the benefit you get of having different account managers. So again, like most of these, I think this can be a good option. If you have a full plan to move forward with multiple different marketing channels and you find a full service marketing agency that has a good background in Google Ads services, then I think this route can work really well because you're investing in lots of different marketing channels at once and you've got one central point of contact. But if you only want Google Ads just for the benefit of going through a web agency, I don't necessarily think that's worth the payoff. And it really does depend on how good that web agency is in choosing, vetting, and managing that freelancer. Do you know how well they know that individual? Is it just someone they know? Are they going to be kind of the middleman and gatekeeping information part of that freelancer because they don't want the freelancer to meet you? It can all become a little bit messy. So I just really start to understand the exact process that you're using there and how much you, I suppose, trust that agency to effectively manage that Google Ads process. And that will depend on who they have actually managing the ads. And next I'm going to say specialist ads agencies or specialist Google Ads agencies. And just a kind of caveat on that, this is what we are. This is what we are at Pleon, and this is specifically how we position ourselves. I can speak of all of these with some level of authority, but I think it's really clear to say this is the one that we are. I'm not just going to aimlessly say this is right for you. We are absolutely more expensive in basically every pitch we go in. I think would be safe to say. We are more expensive than the freelancers. We'll be more expensive almost always than a web design agency, and definitely the Fiverr freelancers too. But generally speaking, we're able to justify that for a number of reasons. Firstly, I'm incredibly confident that specialist agencies or specialist ads agencies should be very, very good at what they do. If they are entirely focusing all of their efforts and energy into learning Google Ads, then absolutely they will know more about Google Ads than potentially someone in a web design agency where they've got one person trying to do Meta and Google and email. I'm confident we know a significant amount more than a lot of other people saying they know ads in the industry. And how we work kind of openly as a model is we have some specialist freelancers that come in and work on some of these bigger contracts with us. So we are always working with specialists. We as a business only do Google Ads, and that is the benefit of a ads agency, is you would hope that by entirely focusing on Google Ads, they will be able to drive you better results. Also from that kind of agency model, we therefore work away with some of the negatives of the kind of freelancer reliance. You get the benefits of a freelancer who is a specialist in their trade with the benefits of an agency, so you've got multiple points of contact if someone's on holiday or out of hours, for example. With that too, the specialist ads agencies will not only be able to continually research the best systems for ads specifically, but they are probably able to afford them and the benefits that brings for their clients. So essentially compared to the specialist freelancer, you've got the team and you've got the specialist systems in place, whereas they're hyper focused on Google Ads. And with that too, just like a specialist freelancer, you would hope that an account manager in an agency makes sure that they've got the ability to speak to every client every month at least and really get under the skin of the clients they work with. Like absolutely, if everyone costs the same, I would recommend a specialist ads agency to run your Google Ads. But it's trying to work out whether the extra cost this probably is worth it. So how confident can you be, or can that agency be in showing you that they will get you better results? That's the key. Like it could be worth paying twice as much or 3 times as much for a Google Ads agency compared to a Fiverr freelancer if all that needs is 2 more leads and you're providing a very high level of service. But if you don't think they're able to deliver that, then I would absolutely critically kind of analyze that. And again, do you need all of the systems that you are inevitably paying for as part of that agency model? So if you're a smaller, basic local business, that doesn't have goals to scale, doesn't have loads and loads of data in the account because you're only spending a few £100s a month compared to thousands, then yeah, absolutely, it probably doesn't make sense to work with an agency and get all these systems that are going to be overkill for what you're looking to achieve. And just to wrap this all up, I mean, just to kind of clarify where I've been in the journey, and I hope I can come with some kind of authority to that, is that I started essentially as a Fiverr freelancer. I never was on Fiverr in that specific example, but I was providing about 10 years ago a very basic level of Google Ads service. We weren't charging too much, we were doing the very basics for small businesses. Then I moved into that specialist freelancer model. I was obviously learning far more about Google Ads. I was becoming a real nerd and really getting devoted into it. We were working with bigger client accounts. We're actually working with fewer accounts, but we were really delivering more exceptional results for bigger and bigger clients because we were able to truly focus on getting to understand their business. And we knew so much about Google Ads as we were learning and growing in that space. As part of that kind of specialist freelancer journey, I also did quite a lot of white labeling for full service marketing agencies. And I saw the good, the bad and the ugly with that really. I've seen agencies that I've taken over work when they've had a freelancer and basically it was someone that really didn't know what they're doing. And I honestly thought that was wrong. They've been charging clients for services on ads and the person running it had no idea what they were doing. But I'm very confident that the clients of those full service agencies ended up getting a really good service because they got to work with a full service agency with a specialist freelancer working in the background. So really from the full service agency side of things, it's how good is that agency at managing whoever they've decided to run the ads for their clients. And then we fully moved in 2024 to a full specialist Google Ads agency model. So we work with a team of both in-house and contractor ads specialists where we manage them effectively. We've got a bit more budget there to bring in next level systems that have really taken our client results to the next level, but we are more expensive. We charge considerably more than we were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, but we're able to justify that because we're confident we bring exceptional results and the systems that our clients want and need to take results to the next level. So that's that kind of full service from there. And absolutely each one of those areas of recommendations changes from business to business. I really do think that small local trades absolutely could work on a Fiverr freelancer model, whether that is a Fiverr freelancer or it's a web design agency that has a Fiverr freelancer doing some of that work. For smaller local businesses that don't have big goals to grow, absolutely this can be a good route forward. If you really have goals to scale your business through Google Ads and go from spending 2,000 to 5,000 to 10,000, then absolutely working with a Google Ads specialist that you can speak to directly, in my view, is the best route. Whether that's a specialist freelancer or an agency, the agency obviously will give you a little bit more protection in terms of the size of the team and access to systems and a more streamlined service across the board, but there will be cost implications of that. But my view is if you really see Google Ads as the forefront of growing your business, you need to be working with specialists in that regard. But if you're happy with things ticking along, then absolutely one of the cheaper options can definitely be right for you. We provide a free audit service where we will entirely review your Google Ads campaign. We'll look for wasted budget, missed opportunities, red flags, and analyze how prepared you are for an AI search world. If that's of interest, click the first link in the description below and we'll get you booked in. Look forward to seeing you there.